Hey everybody, so this is a Revit model with a link in it. I call this Revit model Electrical 2024 because it's in Revit 24 and it essentially represents a like electrical or like a lighting model where we're linking in the architectural model and we're type mapping those elements to match the MEP elements that I want it to kind of map to from the arch model. So sometimes if you have like a very typical project type, with a certain client and it's very prototypical, you might have these things mapped out on every project, and you'll have to map them out every time you link them into your template. And by using a placeholder link in your template, you can actually speed that up quite a bit. Have everything already mapped out for all existing things that are in their link. Now, far as I know, you can't like automate this in any way. So if there's like a list of things to type map and then using the API to map them out, or even using like fuzzy logic to kind of assume what families should be mapped to each other, far as I know, you can't do that currently. That might be something in the future, but I couldn't find any way to get into the type mapping settings through the API. So with that said, though, if you use a placeholder and kind of get everything set up, you shouldn't have to do that for any other projects. So if we go to the Collaborate tab, and then if you go to Copy Monitor, you can copy monitor all of your stuff by selecting a link. But instead of clicking on there, we're actually going to jump over to not Coordination Review, but this Coordination Settings button, and this is what's going to pop up with the type mapping like settings dialog. And this Apply Settings To allows you to pick the links. So in this case, I've got an architecture placeholder link, and so if I click that one, I can see the two types. And by the way, the instances don't need to be placed. So if there's a bunch of types in there, you can map them all out. You don't have to have anything actually modeled. So if we expand lighting devices, which is the only thing in this, are not devices, but fixtures. Fixtures is the only thing that's in this architectural placeholder that's actually placed, like we see in the background. And then I also have lighting devices as well that are just in that model, and you can see that we can select those still if we needed to set any of those. So if you had like a placeholder of a typical project, happens not to have all the types, well, you could still map all those out so that everything's good to go in future projects. So now if we expand this out, we can see all of our different types, and I've mapped some of them. This table lamp is just another example. I don't have that placed anywhere, but that's another one is another that you can map out. Say they did place it or it was a new one added, then you can go in here and change those. But you can see it keeps everything else. And I'll show you actually, so we've got a placeholder, but I'll show you linking in an actual link. And just like you would on a real project, replace that placeholder one with a real one. But I added these. They're essentially the same families, but with ELE in the front of them, just to represent an electrical or like MEP family. But you would use any family you would want to map that to from the architectural. So these would be families of your own that have your parameters are the way that you want them to be. So when you get everything there mapped out, you can save and close that. Now if we jump back to Collaborate, I wanted to say I thought you could copy. Maybe I'm not doing it right. Let's just switch that. Yeah. So now that we have those kind of mapped out, what we can do now is copy those in. So we'll do select link, select that, and then we'll do batch copy. We've already specified type mapping, so we can do copy the fixtures. Now you can see they're all linked up with each other, and they are the ELE type. Now, if I undo that, so we've got only the link in there. Now if we go to manage and then manage links, select on this, do reload from, and then I'm gonna paste this link in there. So this is the placeholder that I have linked. This is the one that we have open now. Now if I click the architecture 2024, which is going to be a different project, specify type mapping just to make sure everything looks good. So if we go here, we can see there's a lot of types in here, but I've got these mapped correctly because that came over from the other project. So those types mapped up, and then it just went in there and kind of matched that up based off of our placeholders. So we don't need to go in there and modify anything if those do look correct. But if they didn't, we could go in and add more so that all of that copied over correctly. So now we can click copy, click OK, and then we've got all of our fixtures in our model. So this one looks correct, and then we've got the ELE downlight light, and then we have this ELE trofer light. So perfect. I mean, that works, and it's really easy. So after you map it, I mean, this would, after you map it, you're good to go. And this would mostly work on, you know, prototypical, and I mean mostly like it's going to save you time, you know, if you're using it over and over again. But if your projects are with different partners and they have different, you know, families and standards, and then it's probably not going to be a great workflow. But if it is pretty prototypical and you work with the same people, then you can type map all that stuff and just replace your placeholder, and then maybe just minor changes, and you're good to go from there. So that's all I wanted to share today. Let me know if this is a workflow you use. If there's things that you wanted me to cover that I didn't, or whatever, any ideas, let me know. But thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.